We are 10 rounds into the MotoGP World Championship in 2024, and it's fair to say it has been dominated by Ducati. Now, the Ducati GP23, in a previous video we have said, we think is arguably one of the greatest bikes of all time. But there's a rider in 4th in the World Championship heading into this season. Probably you could say he would have thought he would have won a race by now, and that rider is Marc Marquez. Now, of course, he is riding the year-old GP23, and from the recent run of results that we have seen, and the gap that's grown between the two bikes, that being the GP24 and the GP23, it is fair to say that Marquez's chances of winning a race, are they actually disappearing this year? Let's take a closer look and analyse the comments made by Marquez, especially after Silverstone, and recent comments from Ducati about how they can help the GP23 riders get better, essentially. Now, every single Grand Prix this year has been won by Ducati apart from one, with Pecco Bagnaia taking 6 wins in the Grand Prix, Jorge Martin taking 2, Enea Bastianini taking 1 last time out in Silverstone, and of course the only other rider apart from Ducati to win a Grand Prix is Maverick Vinales at the America's Grand Prix in Texas. Earlier on in the season, it looked like the gap between the GP23 and the GP24 might not be as bad as people expected. It was closer. Marquez was able to fight for podiums early on. He fought for the lead in Coda before he had an issue and crashed out. And then the big one. He had a couple of chances, would you say, around Jerez. He fought for the win against Bagnaia. He fought for the win against Bagnaia and Martin in Le Mans. And it could arguably say that the Le Mans one was, arguably, when you look back, his best chance, because if it wasn't for a bad qualifying, he showed the incredible pace that he had to come through and to fight for the win. But then, from then, I'd say maybe from Mugello onwards, you can really see the difference of the GP24 compared to the 23. And the GP23 riders, that being Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez at Gresini, Fabio Di Giannantonio, and Marco Bezzecchi at VR46, they have said that, it's just better in all areas. And it is very clear to see. The top 3 in the World Championship are all GP24 riders. The highest one, other than that, is Marc Marquez in 4th, with 62 points to bridge to championship leader Jorge Martin. Like I say, from Mugello maybe onwards, you could see the difference of the GP24. Why is that? Well, obviously, the potential of a new bike is much greater than a bike that is year old, because it has the potential to grow. You can find things with the setup. With the GP23, you're quite maxed out in terms of how you're going to grow that more. Like, you just necessarily can't make it better because you have a year's worth of data. You see where the issues are, you know what the issues are, and you just have to work with what you have. But interestingly, Ducati have said they were willing to help Marc Marquez in this title fight. He still is in there, only 62 points. It seems like a lot. We've got a lot of races to go. We've still got another 10 races left of the season, and Marquez is firmly in there, I'd say. It was interesting to read the comments from Gigi Dall'Igna, who went on to say, what can be improved on the GP23. They said they'll have a look, and if there is something there that they can do, they will do it. Mainly saying, they always try to work on the problems and they think they've done a good job. We've definitely improved the GP24 in the aspects in which the GP23 was a little weaker. Interestingly, Dall'Igna went on to say it is noticed here more at Silverstone, but also on other circuits. I have to say that the guys at the factory have done a really good job. And that's not to say that Marquez has had a terrible season. He has had 9 podiums across sprint and Grand Prix weekends, and he has looked somewhat similar of his old self. Is he going to regret the mistakes of earlier on in the season of not taking his chances? Admittedly, when he said he didn't feel ready to win, even though the opportunities were there. I've seen people say that the level of rider that Marquez is up against in Ducati is far superior than he's had at any point of his recent run of his last 5 years, and that's why he's not winning. Now, I do think the GP23 and the 24, there's a massive difference, and the riders will tell you that. Marquez said at Silverstone to the media, including ourselves, that it's roughly around 4 to 5 seconds a race, and he says it's not that much when you look at it that way, but when you say 2 to 3 tenths a lap, it is pretty noticeable. And for him to try and make up this gap for the second half of the year, that's going to be very difficult, because you have to understand that he is going to go to circuits that he loves, that being Aragon. He does like Misano, Phillip Island, Motegi, Indonesia, Thailand. Circuits where the GP23 was incredibly strong last year as well. And this is the point. Is it too much for the GP24 of an advantage that they have? And are they going to keep improving? Because you say, GG has came out and said the 23 will get looked at, and if there's something that needs improved, they will get it. But this is the key point. The GP24 hasn't had its upgrade yet. And if it gets its upgrade, how good is it going to be? And is it a case that Marquez's time is running out to get a win this year? It's hard to say, because like I say, the advantages that he has around tracks like Aragon, for example, he was incredible on the Honda there. Yeah, the last time we were there with him battling at the front was 2021, and him and Bagnaia had a great show, and Bagnaia ultimately beat him. 2022, it was a battle between the satellite Ducati Enea Bastianini and Pecco Bagnaia. You must think going into this Aragon coming up in a few weeks' time that it's going to be GP24s with Jorge Martin, Enea Bastianini, Pecco Bagnaia. Can the 23s make the jump? It's not necessarily a step of can they make the jump. They're already maximizing what they have. And yeah, I'm interested to see how it's going to improve on the side of the 24, because that bike is so strong. And I can't believe the gap that it's had this year, especially after they sorted out the new rear spec vibration issue that a lot of teams are still struggling with, especially KTM. Ducati got rid of that problem, and once they did, the 24 has really became the standout bike of the season. Do I think Marquez can get a win this season? I do think he can, but it's really circumstantial, because if it's going the way the last 10 races have went, you're going to say GP24 is going to pick up the pieces. And it's not the fact that he's always, majority of the time, leading the way in the charge of the GP23s. We've seen Fabio Di Giannantonio really pick up his pace and get closer to Marquez. But Marquez, at the end of the day, on a Sunday, majority of the time, he is able to be that one who's right behind the 24s. And yeah, I think there's some optimism from Ducati that, like I say, from Delinia's comments, if there is something they can do, they will do it. And interestingly, they have already had like a half upgrade of their bike for this season. They haven't got the full aero spec that the 23s got last year, but they've got the bottom half of it. So they've got the turning vanes on the front tire, modified aero on the sides. And yeah, let's see if that can have any effect going to the second half of the year. But it's going to be the comparison between the 23 and the 24 of how, when the flyaways come, and how the 23 reacts compared to the 24. Because every track we've been to so far this year, the 24 has looked incredible. And I can't imagine it stopping anytime soon. But who knows? Do you think Marc Marquez can win a race? Or any other GP23 rider can win a race this season? Interested to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave them down there. Hit the subscribe button. Like the video as always. And we will see you next time for another video.